You're watching Investigation Discovery on Demand.
Maura Murray disappeared on Monday, February 9th, 2004. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Maura Murray's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her.
I thought everything was okay.
Maura Murray is a 21-year-old college student. It seems like she has everything going for her.
They were talking of getting married.
She was on the dean's list.
But the mysterious events surrounding the days before her disappearance puzzle those who know and love her.
I don't have the slightest idea what was in her mind.
She leaves her dorm room in Massachusetts and drives to the next state. Nobody knows where she's headed.
I don't know why she came to New Hampshire. I don't know. I'd be guessing the same with everybody else.
When her car veers off this dark and windy highway, she seems to disappear into thin air.
Our Maura is gone. It was like a nightmare.
It's Saturday morning, February 7th, 2004. Fred Murray is driving to pick his daughter Maura up from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Little does he know that in only 3 days, she will disappear.
When Maura got to UMass, I'd go up there once a month or so. In fact, the weekend, last weekend I saw her, I was up at UMass and we went searching to find a car. So get her a car, you know, to go to do her nursing clinical trips and stuff like that.
21-year-old Maura Murray has juggled a busy college schedule, running track and cross country, and working 2 part-time jobs. Besides studying, she must do work for her nursing degree that requires long drives from campus.
Now, Maura had a car with her in Amherst, but the car was falling apart. It was really time for her to get a new car.
Maura's rundown car will figure prominently in her disappearance 3 days later.
And we had one picked out, and we're going to go up the next weekend and get it. But that didn't happen. It would have been safe. I wish I had bought it that weekend.
According to Fred Murray and Maura's friends at the time at UMass, it seemed to be a pretty normal weekend. Her father was visiting, everything seemed fine.
And that night in Amherst, we went to the Amherst Brew Pub and had supper. Whenever we went to some place, especially if it's a college town or something like that, if we could find a brew pub, we would go to it, you know.
But the events of that weekend would create a mystery even her closest friends can't explain.
Maura and I grew up in a small town called Hanson, Massachusetts. We had a tight group of friends, and we stayed close all the way through high school and into college, and always stayed in touch.
There was 7 of us that were always together. If something was really bothering Maura, she definitely would have come out and one way or the other hinted at something was wrong.
The last time we hung out with Maura, everything seemed totally normal. We didn't notice anything different with her.
Maura's life seems to be on the right track, both at school and with her family. Her friends know Maura is particularly close to her father.
The first basketball team Maura and I played on, our dads were both coaches. Maura and her dad were very close growing up. She lived with her mom, but her dad was here picking her up for practices, bringing her to games.
Her parents divorced when she was 6 years old, and she remained living with her mother, but she maintained a very close relationship with her father.
It seemed like the last weekend Mara and her dad had spent together was pretty typical of their relationship.
After enjoying their brewhouse dinner that Saturday night, Fred lets Maura borrow his new car. She drops him off at his motel. Then the weekend takes a sudden and unexpected turn.
Sunday morning, Mara woke me up. She had come back, during the night and told me that she had had an accident in my car.
She was involved in an accident in Hadley, Mass, where she went off the road and struck a set of guardrails. She was driving her father's new car at the time and did about $10,000 worth of damage.
Well, Mara was upset, and it haunts me, but, I think she felt she let her father down.
At 4:49 a.m. Sunday morning, a distraught Maura calls her long-distance boyfriend, Billy Rausch, who is stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Billy later shares the conversation with his mother, Sharon.
So she calls Billy, and he talked with her. He calmed her down. And then he promised her that he would call her back later in the day.
Maura and Billy have been dating since 2001. They met while both were attending West Point.
From the moment I met her, I knew that she loved my son, and of course that endeared her to me.
When Maura decided to transfer from West Point to UMass, Billy and Maura continued their relationship, spending many holidays and summers with Billy's family.
By the time that she was here over the holidays in 2003 and early 2004, they shared that, they were talking of getting married.
I think Mara looked at Sharon as if she was a second mom. She always went out there, and we knew that she was excited to go.
To describe Mara as a challenge, I don't want to say she's complex, but she was so multifaceted, She could be serious, she could be so funny and witty. She always had this little soft giggle, and she was very soft-spoken, but she was fun-loving. She loved life, she loved to laugh.
The next day, when Fred Murray sees his daughter, she's still upset about the accident.
I drove her back to the dorm. I could see she was still upset. I told her it would be all right. It was going to be covered. It would be okay, And she went into the dorm, and that's the last I ever saw of her, which will haunt me forever.
A few hours later, at 11:26 p.m., Maura speaks on the phone with her father one final time.
Checked on my insurance. I called her back, said, we're okay. The insurance will be taken care of, so I'm not going to be out a lot of money. I said, you're going to have to make out accident reports, probably in triplicate. So get the 3 forms from the police station or wherever you have to get them, and call me tomorrow night, 8 o'clock.
But Maura's call to her father will never take place, and her actions will surprise everyone who knows her.
There was no death in the family. She did lie.
The car would get fixed, and my insurance would...
Back on her computer on the afternoon of the night, and during the course of a couple hours, searched several sites to include getting directions from Amherst, Mass. To the Burlington, Vermont area.
Here she was looking for different directions up to New Hampshire, and I think onto Burlington, Vermont. I mean, it would seem a little strange, especially since classes had just started.
No one knows what Maura was planning the day before she disappears, but her last cell phone calls leave clues.
We have Mara's cell phone records because her cell phone was an additional line to Billy's cell phone. So, Billy not only gave her a phone for Christmas, he paid the monthly bill. when his bill came, then, you know, we automatically saw all the calls that she made.
At 12:55 p.m. Monday, February 9th, 2004, Maura calls the owner of a Bartlett, New Hampshire condo rental. Her father recognizes the town. It's a place Maura knew well.
She was going to Bartlett. There's no question. She was going to Bartlett, and that's what she knows. She's familiar with. She stayed in every place in Bartlett. She can get a room there, and even if she can't, she knows other places. Maura has been coming up here since she was born.
Maura grew up every summer and parts of winters and springs and falls going all up through New Hampshire. She's hiked so many of those mountains up there with her dad.
They wanted to do the highest mountains as best they could, and she loved hiking.
Maura's friends know her to be very athletic, excelling at many sports.
Maura played just about every sport possible growing up. Maura and I were always on the same teams, and we were captains of the cross-country team senior year. But she was always the one leading the pack and winning most of just about all of the races, and including doing top finishes in the state.
She was recruited to West Point for her running ability.
After transferring from West Point, she attended the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she ran track and cross country. Back at her dorm room that February afternoon, just hours before her disappearance, Maura sends an email to her boyfriend.
He did receive an email from her that day, around 1 or 1:30, and in that email, she told him that she loved him and that she was sorry she hadn't returned his messages from the day before. She hadn't felt like talking to much of anyone.
Whatever Maura's state of mind is, she makes a number of phone calls that afternoon.
Maura made another phone call to 1-800-GO-STOW, which is a reservation phone line for hotels in the Stowe, Vermont area. But research shows that at the time that Maura called, the line was actually out of order. So Maura could listen to listings for different hotels, but she could not actually make a reservation on this line. But that just shows that Maura, again, was looking for a place to stay in the Vermont, New Hampshire area.
Then, 13 minutes after phoning the Go Stowe hotline, Maura calls her boyfriend, but gets his voicemail.
She didn't say much other than promising to call him. Sorry she missed him.
Maura hasn't told anyone she's thinking about leaving town. She finally shares her plans, but it's not with anybody close to her.
Maura had sent an email to her nursing professors. I don't know word for word, but in it she told them that she needed to be away for a week due to a death in the family.
Her friends know there has been no death in Maura's family.
We thought it was a little bizarre when we first heard that Maura had sent an email to professors saying, "There's a death in the family, I have to take off for a week."
Not really like her, but if something was going on, she did need to get away, then kind of explains it. Why she didn't call one of us, I don't know. I mean, maybe we could have helped her out, figured something out together.
She did lie, but, you know, Maura was not a liar.
Around 3:30, we assume Maura got into her car at UMass Amherst and left the campus. Her first stop was to an ATM machine where she withdrew $280. That pretty much depleted Maura's account with that bank. Maura then stopped at a local liquor store. At the liquor store, Maura bought a bottle of Kahlua, a bottle of Bailey's, a bottle of vodka, and a box of red wine.
Maura's stop to the liquor store is known because the receipt of what she purchases is later found in her wrecked car.
Kahlua, Bailey's, and vodka are known for making a White Russian. No one understands why Maura bought such a large quantity of alcohol for if she was traveling alone.
There was surveillance camera at the ATM, so we could see still photographs where she walked up to the ATM, withdrew the money, and there didn't appear to be anybody in the background or anywhere that we could see from the camera photos.
It's 4:37 p.m., and phone records show Maura checks her voicemail. This is the last known call from Maura's cell phone. Presumably, at this point in the afternoon, she's now driving towards New Hampshire.
She had an extremely adventurous sense of spirit. When we first heard that Mara had taken off and gone up to New Hampshire, it seemed a little odd to us, but not totally, because I remember a day in high school that she decided she just wanted to go off and do something different, so she hopped on the train herself, went to Boston, didn't necessarily tell us, but by the end of the day she was back after all of us had been spending the whole day trying to track her down.
The next day, Maura's father will hear the worst news of his life.
Your daughter's missing. She's in an accident. The police don't seem to know where she is.
It's Monday afternoon, February 9th, 2004. Momentarily, this 21-year-old nursing student will go missing. It seems she's planning a getaway, but connecting the clues is complicated.
As to why Maura left, I don't know. In my position as father, you would think that maybe there would have been something said, but I have no hint. I thought everything was okay, you know?
Some think perhaps Maura is not doing well at school, and that's why she's leaving.
I wasn't aware of any stuff like school trouble. She was on the dean's list in a very difficult program, a nursing program. Hard to get in, hard to do well in.
When it came to academics, she was always very serious and one of the top members of our class by the time we all graduated.
The recipients this year are the 5 top-ranking students in the senior class. The awards are $400 to Maura Murray.
I think everybody felt that she was doing okay at school, but there also were some issues, I think, that were causing her great stress in her private life.
Around 5 p.m., Monday, February 9th, this Dean's List student is on the road, driving a rundown car hours away from her dorm, without telling anybody where she is going.
I knew she was having car trouble. We had gotten her a AAA membership with the long-distance towing because we were concerned about her.
It was pretty cold. The road was slippery.
Fred Murray is tracing his daughter's last known steps.
She went west on, I would say, what is it, 116 into Route 91, which we're on now.
She's driving away from her UMass Amherst dorm towards New Hampshire.
She's going to take this right down until she finds 112 East. This is what she was looking for. I wish she had gone straight.
And after traveling over 140 miles,
Maura is not familiar with this area.
Around 7:30 p.m., her car veers off the road.
Maura came around the corner, and so the car wasn't running properly. It impacted right down here. There was a big snowbank here. It's so dark here. If you're looking in this direction, you can't see your hand in front of your face.
This is Maura's second car accident in 3 days. A school bus driver stops to help her.
I just asked her how she was. She said she was shaken up. I couldn't see any blood on her face. And she was shaking like this. I says, okay, I'm going to go call the police.
What the bus driver told us, she didn't appear to be hurt. He offered to call the police for assistance, and she really asked him not to. She said that she had called AAA, but it being in the location of the mountains, he also knew that there was no cell phone coverage there. So he was quite convinced that she hadn't been able to make that call. So he went home, which was a short distance down the road, and called the local police department.
Around 10 minutes later, at 7:45 p.m., police arrive at the accident scene, looking for any trace of the driver.
The police officer at the scene noticed that the windshield was broken in front of where the driver would be seated. The airbags had gone off. There was damage to the front end of the vehicle. When he got there, he found that there was nobody with the vehicle.
In the blink of an eye, this vivacious, athletic young co-ed disappears.
He noticed that there was a box of wine, like a 5-liter box of wine, behind the driver's side seat. He could see that through the window. He noticed in the snow what appeared to be something pink that had been poured into the snow. Subsequently, when they removed the vehicle, he found a Coke bottle, and it smelled like there had been an alcoholic beverage in that bottle.
I spoke with the one witness that actually talked to Maura Murray that night at the accident scene. That witness says that Maura appeared a bit shook up, but she did not appear intoxicated.
There didn't appear to be any evidence at the scene which would indicate anything other than she had left the scene under her own power. There wasn't any evidence of a struggle of any kind. The vehicle was locked.
The police officer at the scene of the accident searches the surrounding area. Maura is nowhere to be found.
Well, the initial accident investigation, led the police officers to believe that this was simply a case of someone who had been involved in a motor vehicle accident and did not wish to, at least initially that night, have contact with the police.
The next day, police speak on the phone with Maura's family.
As a result of those conversations, they then became concerned that Maura might be depressed. Her father described it, that she was depressed in having crashed his car on Saturday night.
Fred Murray remembers receiving the shocking and mystifying news.
The way I felt was just the world just stopped. Your daughter's missing. She's in an accident. She's in the woods, way up, and not in New Hampshire. The police don't seem to know where she is. I couldn't. I wanted to get up here immediately.
The next morning, Maura's boyfriend receives a strange voicemail message.
The message basically, in and of itself, was just a woman breathing and then possibly a whimper or some sort of noise at the end, which we believe to be her.
Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com.
I don't know why she came to New Hampshire. I don't know. I'd be guessing the same with everybody else.
It's Wednesday, February 11th, 2004. Fred Murray has just driven all night from his work in Bridgeport, Connecticut, after hearing his daughter's car has been abandoned, far away from her dorm room, and she is nowhere to be found.
I get up here at daybreak, to join the search.
Maura's mother, Lori, is living a mother's worst nightmare. She's unable to leave her home in Hanson, Massachusetts to join the search due to a fractured ankle.
Eventually, the rest of my family showed up, and Bill Roush, Maura's boyfriend, and his mother and father, Bill and Sharon, showed up.
But during his trip from Fort Sill, Oklahoma to New Hampshire, Maura's boyfriend, Billy, receives a mysterious voice message on his cell phone.
Billy called frantic around 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And he says, Mom, he said, while I was going through security, I missed a call. And he said, I'm sure it was Maura.
The message basically, in and of itself, was just a woman breathing and then possibly a whimper or some sort of noise at the end, which we believe to be her.
He said there was some, really soft sobbing and shivering sounds and sniffing. And he said, I don't know what to do. He said, I called it back, and it says it's a prepaid calling card.
They have hope the call is from Maura, since Sharon knows Maura uses prepaid calling cards.
Before Mara had her cell phone, she called Billy with prepaid calling card. And when Mara was here for Thanksgiving in 2003, I gave her 2 prepaid calling cards. And so that's always, added to our belief that it's very likely that Mara made that very unusual call that Billy received that morning.
But if they had asked me, I'd have given them something that she used all the time, like running gear or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe she.
Leads to speculation that Maura may have gotten into a passing vehicle.
We did an intensive search of the crash scene area for evidence that she may have walked into the woods. Nothing like that was uncovered. Do police make mistakes? Do we miss things? Absolutely.
Maura's boyfriend, and speak with his parents.
After we arrived in Haverhill on Wednesday, Billy was questioned extensively. They give us a press release.
Maura is described as endangered and possibly suicidal.
Well, in any press release, you want to let the public know, especially if you're looking for help. So you want to give those details so that someone who lives in the area or wherever will just be on the lookout for something out of the ordinary. So that information was included in the early press releases that she might be depressed and she may have come up here to harm herself.
So they proceed to tell us that there's no evidence of foul play. Mara is 21 years old. She is an adult. She has the right and the privilege to go missing of her own choice. We're thinking, oh, this can't be. She's gone. That's our foul play. Our Mara is gone.
And while her family and friends are trying not to lose hope,
Maura's loved ones are interviewed by the...
Had every intent on maintaining her, her exercise regimen.
Also found in Mara's car was a book titled Not Without Peril. It was a book chronicling different hikers that had gone into the presidential range of New Hampshire's mountains, and they either never returned or they were badly injured.
Book Not Without Peril was in Maura's car because Maura and I climbed in Mount Washington, and when you read the book, it mentions all these different trails and all the different adventures, some ending happily, some ending in death. People have frozen to death up there. But for the most part, it's uplifting.
Some people speculate, why was Mara reading this particular book? A book about hikers that go into the mountains and never return. But others say this was just one of Mara's favorite books.
With nothing to go on but hope, Maura's family is determined to continue looking for her. During their search, Maura's sister discovers a disturbing potential clue.
Women's underwear were found right down here, more on top of the ice than buried in it. We turned the underwear into the state police, but never heard another word.
There were some items of clothing that were turned into law enforcement. We did forensic testing on those and were able to determine that they were not, in fact, belonging to Mara.
After weeks of constant searching,
I've searched all down through here.
Devastated and exhausted, Maura's loved ones return home.
I personally search any place that would be significant to her, that would be meaningful, that we went to a lot, that would be special for Mara, but she hadn't been to any of those places.
But witnesses are about to come forward, including one who claims to have seen the young Maura Murray.
The young woman had her arms folded in front of her and seemed to be mouthing the words, "Help me."
Days and months after that fateful February 9th, 2004, when his daughter disappears from the scene of her one-car accident, Fred Murray hopes for answers, even though there seems to be no leads and no suspects.
Fred, God has just really blessed him and giving him the strength. You know, at his age, he goes up there week after week after week, and he keeps searching the sides of the roads. He keeps searching the woods.
Months after Maura's disappearance, Sharon and Fred decide to do more follow-up, investigating Maura's final cell phone calls themselves.
It wasn't until Fred and I decided in the fall of 2004 that we were going to go back to square one and check some things out that I called these phone numbers.
Hello? I picked up the phone and it was Sharon. She had said that she obtained Maura's cell phone records and that I was one of the last people to speak with her and that she had gone missing.
Linda and her husband own a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire. And Fred and Maura and Billy had stayed there in late summer of 2003. At the time that I learned this, I went online, and this condo by the Salamonis was the least expensive to rent. So I'm confident that that is why that Maura chose that one.
This 12:55 p.m. call on February 9th, 2004, lasts 3 minutes. Unfortunately, Linda Salamoni is unable to remember more about her conversation with Maura because she is contacted so many months afterwards.
I felt like I might have been able to help at that time. If I had just received a phone call, I could have said, yes, she sounded distressed, or no, she was okay, and this is where she was heading, or whatever, any little bit. So then I felt very frustrated because I still, felt I might have been able to help.
One thing Linda is sure of, she didn't rent a condo to Maura that week.
There was no way for her to get in. We would have to give her the keys. We would make sure that we knew who we were renting it to.
Fred Murray is frustrated with the lack of progress in the case.
Fred has also filed a lawsuit against the state police of New Hampshire and the local police of New Hampshire, trying to obtain the records, the documents pertaining to the Maura Murray case.
My only relief would be the FBI coming in or getting the release of the case records myself. And neither one's going to happen because the court system backs up the state police.
Court decisions have ruled that records relating to the case cannot be released to the public, stating it would interfere with future law enforcement proceedings.
At some point, we may get that piece of evidence which says that she was the victim of a crime, and in solving that case, you want to be able to have everything that you've done from the beginning to that point forward admissible in court if you have to go to trial.
To add to the mystery and the frustration, reporter Maribeth Conway says she spoke to a witness who says she actually encountered Maura Murray, looking very distressed.
She saw a young woman with an older man, a man probably in his 60s. The young woman had her arms folded in front of her and seemed to be mouthing the words, "Help me." The woman finally realized what was happening, but before she really had a chance to do anything about it, the young woman and the man left. The woman did not get license plate numbers or any further of a description of this young girl. She swears that this young woman is Maura Murray.
We've had reported sightings of Maura in Rochester, New Hampshire, in Vermont, in other states. We've always determined that it was not, in fact, Maura.
The interesting thing about the Maura Murray case is that there are so many theories still to this day. Maura was possibly suicidal. She was possibly running away. She could also have been kidnapped.
When the press releases came out about her being suicidal and all the other absurd theories, it was very hard to read. I mean, yeah, people can think what they want, but those that know her know that she was a happy person.
There's no evidence of suicide. You're talking about a kid full of life with every possible thing to live for. She's getting out of nursing school. She's going to have a great job. She's getting ready to get married. Her whole future.
You know, when Mara went missing, there were many things that were said. You know, one of the things was that, well, you know, Mara has run off with another boyfriend, and Billy, you know, was confronted with this, and he said, I hope she has. You know, if she is with another young man, then she is safe.
I think we never thought it would go past a few days. We just thought eventually she'd turn up and there'd be answers, and maybe she'd have a great story to tell after the fact. Some adventure happened. Never thought that 4.5 years later, 5 years later, we'd just have more questions than answers. So this is Mara's last email to the group of girls.
Maura's friends feel her last email to them proves she was not planning any sort of long-term getaway.
She writes, Dane Cook is playing at UMass, and we went to get tickets and it was sold out. I missed out again. But I did some research and he plays in Storrs, Connecticut, February 12th, not too from UMass. She points out that it's February 12th, so it would be 3 days after she actually went missing. So to me, it shows that that's not someone who is trying to take off permanently. She wouldn't just make plans and then completely ditch them in our minds.
We don't really know what happened to Mara, and though we learn more and more all the time, we don't seem to be able to solve this mystery.
To date, we haven't been able to come up with that answer, but it's certainly my hope, and I know the investigators working on this case, that we will one day have the answer for the family. Because I can't imagine what it's like not to know what happened to your daughter.
I think some local dirtbag grabbed her. And she was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
In our minds, one of two things had to have happened to Mara that night. And that was either she succumbed to the elements, which is possible, or someone harmed her. Because we are convinced that with the items that were packed in her car and the fact that there was no note, she was not planning on taking her life.
As the days have turned into months, and the months into years, Maura's closest friends still have trouble accepting the reality of her disappearance.
She's missing everything. I mean, we graduated from college, and she missed it. We don't have any more pictures of her. It's hard.
It's just hard to put into words. It's just one of those things you hear in the news or read about, but you just never assume that something had happened to you or one of your friends. Clearly, it's been 4.5 years and the emotions are still here.
We don't want Mara to be gone. We want her to be out there, starting a new life. But we have to face ourselves in the mirror and deal with what we know, the facts that we know. And now, after, all of this time, it's not just our minds that tell us that something has happened to Mara, it's our hearts too.
However heart-wrenching the answer is, Maura's father refuses to give up searching for his daughter.
I'm going to be up here all the time. I'm going to follow up any lead that a local gives me. I'm trying to do everything I can do. My conscience I wouldn't be able to stand myself if I didn't. I wouldn't be able to look at a picture of Mara if I knew that I wasn't doing everything I could possibly do. And it's just whatever time I have left, that's what I'm going to do with it. She was my buddy, and I don't have my buddy. I'm just my buddy.
Thank you for watching Investigation Discovery on Demand. You're watching Investigation Discovery on Demand.
Paige Bergfeld disappeared on Thursday, June 28, 2007. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information you have to work with is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Paige Bergfeld's last known 24 hours may hold the clues to what happened to her.
I said, if she's missing, you're involved in a crime. She would never have left her kids.
A devoted mother of 3, beloved by friends and family alike, disappears without a word one hot summer day.
And I said, well, where's Rob? That was my first concern after everything she had been saying to me.
Friends are convinced that Paige's recent ex-husband must be involved. But detectives discover a secret part of Paige's life that holds more clues.
What we had learned was that she had been putting herself out there as an adult escort.
NaughtyNightLife.com advertised everything from threesomes to partner swapping, erotic massage.
Whatever line of work Paige is in, the job of the police is the same.
Who is it out there that thinks that they can take away from my grandchildren their mother? Who is this person? What kind of a human being is this?
Friday, June 22nd. Another gorgeous sunny day in western Colorado. Devoted moms Barbara Campbell and Paige Bergfeld are enjoying a pool party with their kids.
We'd been playing for a while, and then Paige showed up with her kids. Paige and I hung out for quite a while, and we got to talk more privately.
Barbara has often heard Paige's conflicting feelings about her recent ex-husband.
She started talking to me about Rob and being very worried.
On June 22nd, Barbara notices something out of the ordinary in Paige's manner.
At the pool party, she was downright scared. It was, I am really afraid that something's going to happen now.
Barbara is extremely concerned.
You hate for your friend to say that. You just want to make him safe, and you can't do that. My parting words to her were, don't worry about Rob. To see you, he'd have to come over Red Mountain Pass, and maybe the mountain will just take care of him. So it wasn't real polite, but it's one of those things you say to comfort a friend. I said that, and she kind of laughed, but she was obviously really troubled that maybe I need that to happen. And then she drove off. I certainly didn't know that within a week she would be gone.
4 days later, a local group of mothers has a get-together. On Tuesday, June 26th, about 20 members of the Grand Junction chapter of Moms Club meet for a night on the town.
MOMS stands for Moms Offering Moms Support, and it's an organization for stay-at-home moms, a lot of whom have home businesses and do lots of other things the way Paige did.
Moms Club was always a natural fit for Paige, with her devotion to family and to her children above all else.
Paige loved her children so much. She enjoyed being successful, but I know in her heart of hearts she probably wished that she just didn't have to work at all and could be with them all the time. We were all in awe of her. She probably had a huge influence on a lot of other moms and how they parented because she handled things differently. There wasn't a whole lot of yelling. She wanted to make everything calm and peaceful and stable.
At Tuesday night's dinner party, Paige can't quite maintain her normally sunny demeanor. Her friends notice something is wrong.
We met at the Ale House here in town. Paige showed up a little bit late, and she looked gorgeous as always.
She had her normal glow about her. She was here, and you were going to notice her. Not because she insisted that you did, but just because that was her presence.
A couple of people said she looked beautiful, but she seemed sad.
There was something in her eyes that was bothering her, because that previous Friday where she was at my house and had unloaded all of this fear, and then to see that in her eyes, I was getting really worried for her.
But Barbara does not have the time that night for a heart-to-heart. She still wonders, to this day, what was on Paige's mind. Paige Bergfeld works hard so she can spend time with her children. Not only does she care for 3 small kids by herself, but she is also the sole financial provider for her family. These responsibilities generate some creative thinking on her part.
Paige found herself in a situation where she was the sole breadwinner to take care of her 3 kids and a large mortgage. I think she displayed some real ingenuity. She set up a series of dance schools.
I'm Paige Bergfeld, and I come once a week to the dance class.
She got into Pampered Chef, and she also sold these slings for nursing mothers. So she'd do different things to make money.
Reporter Nancy Lofholm has covered Grand Junction for the Denver Post for 16 years.
Pampered Chef is a wholesome type of business that women who were home with their kids, it was something they could do because they could have the parties at home and not have to go out and work.
Pampered Chef pays representatives a commission to promote their products through dinner parties.
Paige Bergfeld really made money at it. It sounds like she was good at it.
Two days later, Paige calls her friend Andrea, sounding much more upbeat than the other night.
I was in a hurry, and I rushed the conversation, and of course, hindsight, I wish I hadn't. But she sounded very happy. She sounded like she was really looking forward to the day.
Paige, in fact, has exciting plans. A positive force from her past has come back into her life. Her first love.
I think Paige is fairly typical. You know, Paige, as a high school kid, was kind of skinny, gawky, braces, so forth. I think her first real swept off her feet was Ron Bigler, who was her first husband. That was the big one. She actually got a 4-year scholarship in nursing at the University of Florida in Gainesville. And then Ron Bigler moved down there too. And I would assume that distracted the academic pursuit. So they ended up moving back to Denver and got married fairly promptly after that.
Despite their love for each other, Ron is not yet ready to have children. Their differing feelings about parenthood eventually drive them apart.
Paige knew that family was going to be huge for her. She already had that mothering instinct that her kids were going to be the most important thing in her life. And so that's what kind of led that marriage astray. It was a very amicable divorce, and they wanted different things out of life, so they moved on.
The high school sweethearts always remain friendly. And 9 years later, after Paige is divorced from her second husband, Ron Bigler and Paige get back in touch.
Paige started talking about Ron about 3 months before she disappeared. It was funny because I knew something was up with her. It just seemed like there was a little switch that turned on, and she was just a little more sparkly, a little more happy. She talked to me about how she'd been seeing him and that she still really loved him and that this might be something that would work out.
It was a Thursday. She made arrangements to meet Ron Bigler halfway between Denver and Grand Junction. She drove 2 hours east, he drove 2 hours west.
For Paige, June 28th is starting out to be a very good day.
There's a picnic area, the river runs by, and they spend kind of a late afternoon doing that. She left and came back to Grand Junction. He went back east. When he arrived in Denver, about 2 hours, he called her. She wasn't quite to Grand Junction.
Paige and Ron agree to talk again later that night when Paige gets home. But Ron never hears from her.
Friday morning, he called her, and her phone immediately rolled over into her voicemail.
This is odd. Because of Paige's children, she never turns her phone off and always keeps the battery charged. All day Friday, Ron continues to call Paige's cell phone.
He called her several times during the day, and it rolled over each time. Never touched base with her. Saturday morning, he called again, and it still did that. This time, he called the house.
And what Ron learns scares him.
My 8-year-old granddaughter answered and said that Paige had not come home Thursday night. Ron, to his great credit, called the Mesa County Sheriff's Office and reported it.
The first time I heard the name Paige Bergfeld was on June 30th, the day that she was reported missing.
This is one of these moments that's freeze-framed in my mind. There's certain events that you just can see it. Everything stops and you can see each detail. I'd gotten a cup of coffee at McDonald's and my cell phone rang, and the caller identified himself as a deputy sheriff with the Mesa County Sheriff's Office. And he said, "Do I know that my daughter Paige has been missing?" And I can just tell you that is a moment that, you just never want to have. I said no. I remember I paused and I said, if she's missing, you're involved in a crime. She would never have left her kids. He asked me, do you know that she was involved in an adult business? And I said no, and frankly, that's the first I had ever heard of such a thing.
It's the first indication that there may be danger beneath the surface of this model mother's life.
My staff told me that there was a mother who was missing and that the circumstances of her disappearance were unusual. This was a mother who, by all accounts, appears to love her children very much and would not deliberately be gone from them.
And I think we were en route within 20 minutes. Boy, when you get a call like that, you realize how nobody gets trained for that moment.
When he reports her missing, Paige's first husband informs the police that she is working in adult entertainment.
What we had learned was that she had been advertising and putting herself out there as an adult escort.
As a family, we didn't know anything about this adult business situation. I'm told by Ron that he knew that she was involved in an adult business, and he was aware she was going to meet clients Thursday night, and I assume we're talking about adult business clients.
Paige maintains a profile on an adult escort website.
NaughtyNightLife.com is a website where you can arrange what appeared to me to be sexual encounters. They advertised everything from threesomes to partner swapping, erotic massage. Paige tried to make her profile look a little more high class than some of the things on Naughty Nightlife. Some of them are pretty raunchy. Paige's picture was just a torso shot, and she was dressed. She advertised herself as filet mignon as opposed to chopped meat.
Investigators are aware that the nature of this business may have put Paige's life in jeopardy.
That brings another level of complexity. But nevertheless, it was learned early on, and it begins to broaden the scope of what we're looking at.
As with Paige's other jobs, she is well organized in her escort business.
Paige advertised that she would be available for in-call or out-call, which I believe means that she would go to their homes, hotel rooms, or she would bring them to her office.
Paige has been renting this office since March 2006, but no one in the building has any idea of what actually goes on in this room.
The landlord thought that she ran an acupuncture office. That's what she had told him, and never had any reason to suspect anything different. One of the odd things that some of the other people in the building had noticed was that in her office she had a pin cushion with needles stuck in it. And that's not the way acupuncturists operate. I mean, a true acupuncturist has needles that are sterilized and they're in paper. That just was kind of almost a joke. Other people in Paige's office building saw men coming and going, sometimes as many as 4, men in one evening, and they wondered about that. Paige would be dressed in kind of skimpy clothes and high heels. She didn't look like she was in the healthcare providing field, but none of them really suspected what was actually going on.
Paige lists her services as escort, erotic massage, private dancer, and available for groups and parties. But just how far Paige may have gone is unclear.
From reading the critiques on Naughty Nightlife for Paige, I got the sense that there was more happening than massage. They did mention that the extras cost them more, but they were well worth it. I think maybe Paige drew a line, no sexual intercourse. I mean, it wasn't prostitution per se.
Whatever line of work Paige is in, the job of the police is the same.
It's not our place to make a judgment about the activity. It's our place to investigate the facts and find out what happened.
And ultimately, her friends believe that Paige is doing this work because it provides quick and easy money, all in an effort to support her children.
Paige needed to make ends meet. She told me that a friend of hers had taught her how to give massages. And so we felt like, well, of course, Paige is just giving massages, perhaps not fully clothed or something. But who's to say you can't do that? And we knew the escort side, perhaps dancing at parties. If it happens to be dancing with very little clothes on, Paige didn't have a problem with that. She was very comfortable with herself, with her body, and that's very different than actually having sex with someone.
When first husband Ron Beigler calls the police on June 30th, Paige has been missing for 36 hours. Their first step is to account for where Paige has been during all of that lost time. Her business practices turn out to be a boon for investigators.
We discovered that there were 2 cell phones, one for her and one for her business, and we were able to get information from both telephones.
While Paige's family is in the dark about her adult business, for at least some close friends, Paige's life is an open book.
She never hid anything. She was very open, and I don't think she had anything to hide. For her, it was strictly a business deal.
This isn't the first time that Paige got involved in adult entertainment.
She was stripping in a Denver club, the Mile High Saloon, and her first husband knew about that. I heard from friends and family members that he was not thrilled about her stripping.
In addition to questions about parenthood, Paige's stripping may have caused tension in the marriage. The couple divorce in 1997, while Paige is still dancing at the Mile High Saloon. And it is there that she meets her second husband. But Paige's next marriage will come with its own complications.
Rob Dixon met Paige while she was dancing at the Mile High Saloon in Denver. They hit it off and were married.
Paige's friends explain that she is someone who goes out and gets what she wants. In 1997, she wants Rob Dixon and all the financial security he offers.
When Paige met Rob, he came from a very wealthy family. So in part, she was attracted to that because she could be the stay-at-home mom.
Rob Dixon's family had made a fortune during the 90s.
Rob Dixon's father was one of the pioneers of the cell phone industry and made some money.
In 1996, Rob sets up a foundation that gives millions of dollars to fire departments in Colorado.
Rob Dixon is a trained paramedic. That's what he likes to do. He likes to help people in their time of need. Rob and his father began a foundation, the whole purpose of which was to supply needed equipment to fire departments, paramedics on the western slope of Colorado.
Rob entrusts his money to an investor he meets in a strip club, and for a while, returns are good. The couple moves to Grand Junction in 1998 and starts having children the same year. Rob chooses to make no secret of his money.
This is a town where if you want to fit in, you might get a pickup truck or an SUV. Rob at one time had expensive Porsches. He had Lexus, Jaguars, Range Rovers, a lemon yellow Ferrari.
I got the sense that Rob liked attention and his nice home and his 9 cars. People were very, very impressed.
By this time in 2001, Paige and Rob have 3 children. It seems they have it all. Then, after September 11th, Rob Dixon's finances take a serious plunge, and all this financial turmoil takes its toll on the family.
Over time, I started noticing that I really never saw him. At Paige's house, you would expect Rob to be out mingling. These are basically Paige's closest friends. And he would go in the bedroom and close the door, just avoidance. It set up a really awkward tension. That was really upsetting to her, that he'd make no point of being a part of anything that she was doing.
Frank Bergfeld believes the anxiety surrounding the loss of Rob's fortune changes him for the worse.
I think it was devastating. I think people that beg for, look at me, aren't I smart? To be in the paper day in and day out, having your bad decisions detailed to the community at large, to someone who had been up there with an ego, it's a long plunge down.
As the years pass, Paige's family and friends grow more concerned about her relationship with Rob.
Paige made a 911 call in 2004.
My husband and I were in a fight, and he was supposed to watch my children while I went to work. He didn't seem to be okay, so I said that I was just going to take the children with me. But he wanted the children to stay with him, and he said that I would come home and find them all murdered.
By the time the police got there, it had all been resolved and there was no arrest.
Rob's lawyer says that no arrest was made for good reason. Rob Dixon never threatened to kill the children. Rob and his lawyer believe she made the call for ulterior reasons.
The first time Paige called 911, she made an accusation that Rob Dixon was going to kill the children. That had no basis in truth. The police came to the scene. There was nothing inappropriate going on. Nobody was charged. Rob was befuddled. He had no understanding as to what motivated Paige to make a false accusation about him. But fortunately for Mr. Dixon, it was soon very clear he had done nothing wrong and had no bad intentions. And it may have been the start of her campaign to get Rob Dixon out of the house.
1 year later, in 2005, Paige makes another 911 call.
Paige called 911 and said that Rob Dixon had slapped her and shoved her while she was holding their youngest child. And at that time, he was arrested for domestic violence. According to the court files, Paige said that he had accused her of being a whore because she had clothing in her car that indicated to him that she was going out to do topless massage. Rob said that she had told him that she was having to do that again because they were running out of money.
Rob's lawyer insists that Rob always dutifully supported his wife and family. Rob is arrested on third-degree assault, misdemeanor child abuse, and domestic violence charges.
Rob pleaded guilty to harassment. It was a plea bargain, and he had to go to anger management classes.
In exchange for this plea, the charges are eventually dropped.
Paige Dixon claimed that Rob had struck her and the child. The problem was there were no signs of any injury. What actually happened is that Rob found that she was doing topless massages. That's not really what you want the mother of your children and your wife to be doing. According to Rob, he never laid a hand on her, and he and I believe that that second call was manipulation by Paige. She was done with him.
Rob's lawyer says this is an elaborate ruse by Paige to cast herself as the better parent so she can win custody of the children if they divorce. 2 days after Paige's 911 call, Rob Dixon declares bankruptcy. His Colorado EMT Foundation is unable to pay for equipment it has donated, and taxpayers are forced to pick up the tab.
Rob said that eventually he lost over $10 million. I would think it was more than that.
Not surprisingly, public opinion turns against him.
I would have to say that Rob Dixon came to town as a hero. He was a godsend, and he was Santa Claus. And by the time he left, he was an awful scoundrel, because a lot of the places that he had donated equipment to, it had been repossessed. He had just leased it and then didn't make the payments. And then after he got involved in a fire district here, he invested $3.2 million of their money in a shifty internet company in New York, and that money was lost.
According to her loved ones, Paige and her children are feeling the effects of Rob's reversal of fortune.
The relationship certainly started having cracks and coming apart. As the years went by, we see Rob as a sort of a Jekyll and Hyde personality. When they were first married, we knew virtually 100% good Rob. At the end of it all, it was virtually 100% bad Rob. I actually set up a bank account for Paige that was joint, and the purpose was that if she felt for any reason she needed to get away, she'd have enough money to do it.
Paige's friends never doubt for a minute that her fear of ex-husband Rob Dixon is very real.
One day we were at her house and there was no door on part of the cabinet, and so I asked Paige what that was all about. The oldest son was in trouble and Rob was angry with him, and so he was hiding in that cabinet from his dad. And Rob broke the door on that side of the cabinet when he was pulling the child out of there.
Rob's lawyer explains that Rob did break this cabinet door, but by accident. The door simply came off its hinges, and no child was involved.
It just gives me chills.
Rob starts looking for work out of state, and friends raise the possibility of divorce with Paige.
Rob was brokenhearted, but he's also a bright guy, and it seemed pretty obvious that his marriage with Paige was over. If she was going to be involved in adult services, he was not going to be around.
Paige finally accepts the idea that they should divorce.
That's where I saw her sad a lot more, because her dream was falling apart. She didn't have, the traditional family and the white picket fence. It was all crumbling, and that was very hard for her.
Rob Dixon leaves Colorado, eventually settling on the East Coast. But even after the divorce is final, Paige is documenting her fears about Rob on a website dedicated to pampered chef consultants.
I've looked at the website, and it seems to also be a support group for these kinds of women. They get on and they tell about themselves. And I know that Paige did that. She talked a little bit about her divorce and her problems with her former husband. Paige said that she was afraid of him. One post even said that the kids were afraid that he would come and kill her.
Were Paige's fears real? And was Rob Dixon somehow involved in her disappearance? Paige's friends say that she has told them of her fear of Rob. So when Paige goes missing, this is one of the first things friends mention to police.
I definitely told the police I was concerned about Rob and that he might be a threat.
In any investigation, one of the first things you're going to look at is existing relationships. In this case, Paige Broomfield had 2 ex-husbands. In the case of Rob Dixon, they had a colorful relationship, and it was one that was not without strife. And there were 911 calls, and there was even a prior domestic violence arrest. And it piqued our interest with regards to trying to understand, did they have enough of a rocky relationship that created the motivation to try to harm Paige?
Could Rob's temper have driven him to the ultimate revenge?
It did not change the facts with regards to where we believe Rob Dixon was during the time of her disappearance and what he was doing at the time.
According to Rob, he was at home in Pennsylvania when Paige's family called, completely unaware that Paige had disappeared.
Rob Dixon was worried that something had happened to her, so he packed all his gear and headed for Colorado.
Meanwhile, the sheriff's office is beginning their search for Paige. They start close to home.
In any case like this, you want to do a cursory search of, the house. One of the things that helped us to gain focus was the lack of things that we saw. We didn't see somebody who came home and packed.
About 9:30 that night, a volunteer arrived with her bloodhounds. They went around the house, inside, outside, and then I was told they took them beyond to the desert.
But nothing concrete is found.
Sunday, they were going to go up in an airplane looking for her car.
While searching for her car, investigators are also trying to track down Paige's last moves.
Cell phone records and voicemail were a big clue in this investigation that gives us an idea of who she may have intended to meet with and who, perhaps wanted to meet with her. We were able to identify individuals and contact them and try to learn their whereabouts and learn their relationship to her.
3 days after her disappearance, there is a huge development. Paige's car is found in flames.
Her vehicle then was reported to us on Sunday, found burning in an industrial area of Grand Junction, and it didn't take much to determine that it was probably set deliberately. It's a huge red flag. Now there's criminal behavior involved with it, and it causes you to think about foul play and that there's somebody that appears to be attempting to cover up a connection.
If I didn't know before, I knew that point. We have a serious problem here. She is in a real bad spot.
It was probably the thing that made me really start freaking out and thinking that something truly awful had happened.
Finding Paige's car tells police that she made it back to Grand Junction from Eagle on June 28th.
I found out Paige was missing the Monday morning after she disappeared. My husband called and said, she's missing. And I said, well, where's Rob? That was my first concern after everything she had been saying to me.
Mom's Club has a meeting scheduled for Monday afternoon, and it quickly becomes all about what's happened to Paige. The more they think about whether or not Paige would choose to leave her children, the more worried they get.
We assume she's dead in one respect, but in another respect said if there's any way for someone to be alive, Paige would find it.
Because of another missing persons case in the Grand Junction area, a local search group had sprung up called the Abby and Jennifer Recovery Foundation. On July 14th, at 6 a.m., Paige's loved ones joined this group in a massive effort to find any sign of Paige.
This is a huge county. It's over 3,300 square miles. 74% of it's public land. It's from High Mountain Meadows all the way to Red Rock Canyon country that the Colorado River runs through. There's literally a million places to hide somebody and a million places to go where you have privacy to do things that bad people sometimes do. It's wide open.
I think the first day we had in the neighborhood of 150 people. You just can't believe how hot it was. When you're looking at 115 degrees, it is very uncomfortable. I just can't believe how much people will give of themselves when they see someone in a tight spot. There's a park downtown in which homeless people gather. And I took some of the flyers. I took a box of waters. There wasn't a lot of thank yous. And then I said, I need your help. Those guys pulled around me like a magnet. And they couldn't have been more helpful. They took all my flyers.
The very next day, there is another huge find.
There were some items found in an area approximately 15 miles away from where the vehicle was found on a state highway.
It was exciting and hopeful at the same time that it was terrifying and sad.
They found items from Paige's purse, from her billfold. They found a Blockbuster rental card, her checkbook, cards, normal things people have in their wallet. The items were found on the opposite side of town from where her house is, the opposite side of town from where she would have come into town from Eagle. I think the police looked at the items that they found as possibly kind of a breadcrumb thing, that possibly she might have thrown them out of a car. That had them looking then south of Grand Junction along the river. And they had divers, they had boats. The other theory was that possibly they'd been thrown out by someone as a way to divert them.
However these items got there, the volunteers have to keep searching.
You have to be prepared that you're trying to find a dead person, is really what we were searching for ultimately. If she was alive, we weren't going to find her on our searches.
If anything is found, it cannot be publicized, for fear it could taint a future trial.
You had to flag anything you thought might be related to her, and that could mean a lot of flags.
Volunteers search throughout the summer.
You don't develop an extreme amount of confidence that you've eliminated all the areas. What you do is develop confidence that you're doing everything you can and moving on to other areas.
But Paige is not found. Despite her friends' concerns, after interviewing Paige's ex-husband Rob Dixon and checking his alibis, police determined that he was not involved. And he is officially cleared.
At this point, I've never uncovered anything that would suggest that Rob Dixon has anything to do with Paige Bergfeld's disappearance.
The Mesa County Sheriff's Department focused on the men in Paige's life, as they should have. But they soon came to the conclusion that neither man could have been involved in Paige's disappearance.
This only makes cops work harder to find a suspect.
We even brought in canines with specific experience in cold trails or cold tracks to try to determine if we could link anything to the car.
These cold case canines sniff out the area where Paige's car was found and lead investigators directly to the door of a local business. A man is about to be named a person of interest. Nearly a month after Paige Bergfeld goes missing, investigators name a person of interest. While much of the evidence must be kept secret in case of a trial, the public learns that canines led straight to this man's place of business.
The canines were useful in tying the car to the business. As a result of that, we're left with Lester Ralph Jones as a person of interest in this investigation to us.
There is talk in the town that Lester Jones and Paige know each other, and that he may be a client whom she refused to meet.
I knew that she knew him. She had talked about her mechanic, Lester. I got the impression that he was very fixated on her.
As best as I can tell, Paige and Jones knew one another, and Paige found Jones repulsive and tried to avoid him.
My husband ended up talking to someone who had a friend who had hired Paige. You know, he said she gives great massages, and he had actually approached her about a full-service massage, and she refused. She said, no, I give massages and that's that. He was like, I'll pay you really well. And she absolutely wouldn't go.
Barbara wonders if perhaps, unlike this friend of a friend, Lester Jones couldn't take no for an answer.
He is big, 6'6", 280. He served time in prison for an act of violence with respect to his ex-wife.
According to Delta County Sheriff's records, in 1999, Jones chased his estranged wife up a mountain road in his car, fast enough to set off her airbags. Her friend jumped out of the car and started running away, and Jones fired a gun at him. The bullets went through his hat.
Mr. Jones was an RV mechanic here in Grand Junction after he had served 3 years of a 5-year prison sentence for domestic violence-related crimes.
Although Jones was imprisoned for assault with a deadly weapon, attempted second-degree kidnapping, and the use of a deadly weapon, Paige's loved ones are not convinced that he is the one.
I see him having a low motive, and I see others that have a high degree of motive.
I know investigators searched Mr. Jones' house at least twice. They were particularly interested in a truck liner. They said they took several bags of things out of the house. They did a lot of searching, but the investigators would never say what they found there or didn't find. And they would also never confirm that they searched his place of business. But I would assume that they did because the dog led over there.
You know, it really doesn't make any sense that someone would go to all the trouble of trying to hide a murder and then put the victim's car in the parking lot next to where they work.
Well, I've never been able to let go of the idea that Rob Dixon was somehow involved in this. He was the only person she mentioned being afraid of.
In the face of intense allegations from Paige's close friends, Rob's lawyer maintains these claims are ludicrous.
Rob Dixon talked with the investigators without a lawyer being present. He said he had nothing to hide. He passed a polygraph with flying colors, so it was pretty clear he could not have been involved in her disappearance at all.
The biggest thing is we need to find Paige. We want to find Paige.
Apparently, Jones and Rob had a connection through their jobs. The two of them had worked for the same fire district, so potentially they stayed in touch. Rob would know that Ralph has a violent background. What better person to set up to knock off your ex-wife?
Neither Rob or I had ever heard of Lester Jones. Jones and Dixon have never met. Jones and Dixon have never spoken. The claim that Lester Jones was being manipulated by Rob Dixon is hogwash, and why anyone would believe that story is beyond us.
In spite of Paige's friends' suspicions and an alleged connection to Lester Jones, the sheriff's office still says Rob Dixon is not a suspect in this case. Neither Lester Jones nor his lawyer have ever made a public statement, and Jones has never been arrested or charged in connection with this case. The open-ended nature of this case leaves friends and family desperate for answers.
Our investigation has not uncovered anything that Paige is still alive. Paige has met with foul play, and we believe that it was likely surrounding her adult entertainment business, and we remain open to other possibilities as well and won't rule anything out, but that is the focus that we have based on the facts as we know them. It's still a very complex and difficult case, but we're hopeful that something comes up that causes this case to get its day in court.
Certainly as bad as it is and how you fall into the depths of depression and despair, there's also an element of anger. Who is it out there that thinks for whatever purpose they have for themselves that they can take away from my grandchildren their mother, to take away this person's goals, their aspirations, to take away this great smile? Who is this person? What kind of a human being is this? One of the investigators told me, these kind of cases take 6, sometimes even 20 years to solve. I responded to this guy, you may punch out at night to go eat dinner, but this never leaves me, and it never will.
Thank you for watching Investigation Discovery on Demand.